Hey, what's going on, everybody? We're back with some Chaos Head Noah tonight. I think we are approaching the climax to this story. At the moment... At the moment, it's kind of flipping back and forth between Takumi basically having a mental shutdown. He tried to commit suicide in the last little stream of this visual novel. But then the thing that he tried to hang himself with broke, and then he just gave up after that. And then this Nanami showed up at his shipping container home. And now she's crying and stuff too. And then the other scene that's going on right now is Rimi, who has found where Nanami is being held. The real Nanami now. We're not talking about this one here. We're talking about apparently there's two Nanamis. I don't know if this Nanami is just like a delusion or what, but the real Nanami is being held captive, not by Shogun, but it looks like rather she's being held captive by the Nozomi group, I think. So Rimi has showed up at their place and she is trying to rescue the real Nanami. So Nanami was crying. She was trying to hold back her tears, but they fell from her eyes anyway. I gave her a single glance, then I looked back up to the ceiling and returned to counting the rust spots.
抜かれたって、僕には何もできないよ。僕は妄想の存在なんだから。妄想の。
そんなこと言わないでよ。お兄が妄想のはずないじゃん。だってナナは小さい頃のお兄のこと知ってるもん。いつもナナに世話かけさせてちっとも頼りにならないけど、でもお兄は昔からずっとナナと一緒だったよ。
That's right. Nanami was right. I remembered Nanami from when she was little. I had my own memories of being young, too. I remembered being in elementary school and not being able to go on the field trip, and how I'd watched the bus with my classmates on it get into an accident. I even remembered Mr. Saito, my teacher, who died. Who should I believe? Rimi? A girl I didn't even know? Or my little sister who I'd grown up with? Wasn't the answer obvious? Rimi was lying. Nanami was telling the truth. And if Nanami was real, then so was I.
Nanami.
I reached out a hand toward Nanami. Her existence was my only hope. She was the one thing that could possibly save me.
助けて、ナナミ。助けて。
If Nanami's warmth was real, I could prove that I was real too. Nanami had been sobbing, but now she wiped away her tears. She turned her red-lidded eyes to me and gave me a sad smile.
抱きしめてくれる？
I nodded. Again and again. Again and again. If that would save Nanami, then it would save me. I'd happily give my bratty little sister as many hugs as she wanted. After all, she was my only little sister in the whole wide world.
ナナミ。助けて。
I wanted to feel her warmth as soon as I possibly could. So when she slowly leapt into my arms, I wrapped my hands around her. Tightly, tightly, and tried to hold her.
鬼。
And just before I could, a pale light appeared around her body as she dissolved into a million glowing pieces of light. The lights burst like bubbles in the air, one after another. My outstretched hand touched nothing. There was no warmth at my chest. In front of my eyes, Nanami disappeared. Nanami Nishijo held the D-sword she'd created from her blood tight to her body, using only her left hand. Her right hand just hung alongside it. The blood dripping from the bandage was running down the small groove in the blade before falling to the ground.
痛い。知ってたの？ナナちゃんがギガロマニアックスだって。
Rimi's question was directed at Norose, who'd been watching the events unfold silently. No matter how much hate was in her gaze, he seemed completely uninterested.
偶然の産物というものですよ。
ナナちゃんにひどいことしたくせに何が偶然なの？
君の時のような苦労はしませんでした。我が社にはすでに覚醒させるためのマニュアルが確立していますから。もっとも西条匠にだけはそのマニュアルも通用しませんが、イレギュラーな化け物は扱いづらいことこの上ない。
化け物だなんて言わないで。
君も化け物だからですか？
そういう話はしてない。
虚無から生まれたものだからと言い換えた方が良かったですね。
Rimi looked away, biting her lip in frustration. She was still shaking. She had to save Nanami, but her legs wouldn't move, like they were rooted to the floor. Norose, however, seemed completely unfazed. He gave Nanami's head a loving pat. Nanami didn't react. Her head was slumped, and she was taking one shallow breath after another.
闇のある一点だけを灯しているスポットライト。その周囲には無数の死体が転がっているのでしょうが、誰にも見えない。君自身にもです。
そんな話。
例えば君が自殺をしたら、スポットライトは数十センチ横にずれて君を闇で覆ってくれるでしょう。そして何も知らない別の誰かが代わりにスポットライトを浴びる。
Norose shrugged and fell silent.
痛い。ナナちゃんを解放してほしいんだけど。
拘束は解きましたが。
連れて帰る。
構いませんよ。もう用済みです。
ナナちゃん、帰ろう。その件は消して。だったらバングル返して。返すから。
Rimi knew where Nanami's hand was being kept. On that day, the night when Nanami's right hand had been delivered to Takumi's room. The night when Takumi had been humiliated on the roof of O-Front. Rimi had taken the hand from his fridge. Shogun had it now. It was being kept cold so that it wouldn't rot. The bangle was there too.
お兄からもらったの。ナナのだよ、バングル。勝手に持って行って。ひどいよ。
Nanami's voice was getting more and more violent.
落ち着いて深呼吸して。自分をしっかり持って。
一つ聞きますが。
Norose suddenly interrupted them. In her mind, Rimi grimaced.
西条匠にとっては、君たち二人のうち、どちらがより重要度が高い存在ですか？
Why is this whole scene just black? Rimi looked down.
リミさんなんか。
Nanami looked up. Light had returned to her empty eyes. They were abnormally bright. Rimi quickly brought up her sword, but froze inside the sudden darkness. The lights had been cut. Whether it was an accident or deliberate, Rimi couldn't tell.
負けちゃダメ。
Rimi whispered to herself. Her voice made the air vibrate, but quickly melted away inside the darkness. She realized she couldn't hear the awful rumbling coming from Noah 2 anymore either. She didn't like the dark. It brought back memories. Rimi looked around her. There was darkness everywhere. Not a trace of light was to be found. Could she not see because it was dark? Or could she not see because her vision wasn't working? She couldn't tell which way was up and which was down. She didn't even know where she was. The darkness worked its way inside all her senses. She couldn't even sense her own body anymore. It was like her body had transformed into a gas. Like her mind was leaking from its vessel. Past and present melted together, and Rimi's memories began to mix with one another. When was it now? When was the past? A single ray of light shone down into the perfect darkness, and in the center of the circular spotlight, she saw herself crouching on the ground with her arms wrapped around her knees. Rimi stared at herself from within the darkness. It was just like back then. Back then, Rimi had nothing. She woke up one day to find herself locked up, tortured. Psychological pain was worse than the physical pain. Every day was hell, and every day all she could do was endure. Rimi didn't know where she'd been before that. When had she been imprisoned here? How? How long had they been torturing her? Rimi didn't know. Somehow, it didn't feel like amnesia to her. It felt like she'd only begun to exist the moment she'd woken up here. Maybe the personality which had inhabited this body before had killed itself within a delusion to escape from the pain. Maybe the current Rimi was born to take its place. Maybe there had been many different personalities before her. Maybe the name Rimi Sakihata was one that changed with each new personality. There's no true me inside me. Something moved within the darkness. Rimi stood up and slowly approached it. When she moved, the spotlight went with her. And then she saw what it was. It was Rimi lying on the ground, dead. Rimi whispered, taking care not to look at Rimi as she spoke.
あなたは何番目？私は。
Rimi's eyes began to twitch violently. Tears flowed from the corners of her eyes. The D-sword slipped from her hand. She dropped to her knees where she stood. Like a child, she covered her face with her hands, shaking her head weakly. I'm sorry. I couldn't take it. Nanami watched expressionlessly, and Norose gave a small, bored snort. There was nothing left of Nanami. She disappeared right in front of me. She hadn't even been real.
どこだよ。出てきてよ。いるんだろ。また、いたずらか。隠れてるんだ。やめろよ。
The tears made it hard for me to see. I wiped them away, but they just kept coming. Hot little drops of water. But even their heat, and even the emotions that were making me weep, were delusions. Because I myself was a delusion. Nanami was a delusion too. I was an idiot to get my hopes up. They'd been mercilessly dashed.
で、いつ、この妄想って、冷めるの？早く、冷めてよ。
I didn't even know who I was talking to, but I wanted someone, anyone, to hear me.
この妄想が冷めたら、僕は、本当はイケメンなんだ。そうに決まってる。物分かりのいい妹と、優しい姉がいるんだ。かわいい彼女と付き合ってて、その子がリミとかセナみたいな電波女じゃなくて、セーラさんみたいないい子なんだ。
あなたは妄想の存在なんだよ。
I fell to the ground, burying my head in a pile of garbage, and clutched Seraton tightly. I slammed my fist into the floor, trying as hard as I could to avert my eyes from reality, but I couldn't. Rimi's words kept echoing in my head, again and again.
死にたい。死にたいよ。どうして誰も僕を殺してくれないんだ。ねえ、セーラタン、殺して、僕を殺して。
そんなに死にたいの？
死にたい。こんなのもう嫌だ。自分の存在が嫌だ。何も考えたくない。生きていたくない。
かわいそうなタッキー。だったらすぐに殺される方法を教えてあげる。
Wow. Thank you, my wife. Seraton was always there to help me.
とりあえず外に出るんさ。
外に？
I stood up as I was told. I almost tripped over the garbage on the floor several times, but I managed to make it outside. I didn't have the slightest doubt about what I was being told. Seraton was the one person who would never betray me. She was my wife. She wasn't 3D. When I got outside, I heard a strange sound. It felt like I'd heard it somewhere before.
この音を追いかけて。
追いかけたら殺してもらえるの？
そういうこと。
優しく殺してもらえるかな？
私が保証するよ。
よかった。やっと死ねる。
The sound was my savior. It was a bell of salvation, leading me to a land of peace. I followed the sound with Seraton still in my hand. It kept getting closer and then farther away as if it was leading me somewhere. Whenever I got close to it, it would suddenly get further away. Whenever I felt like I would lose it, it would get closer and wait for me, as if it had a will of its own. A sound with a will of its own. It reminded me of Shogun. For a moment, I saw his face, but then I stopped caring. It didn't matter if it was him behind this or not. If someone wanted to kill me, I'd happily let them. I stopped even trying to figure out what the source of this sound might be. I was going to die soon anyway, and since I didn't exist, there was no point in thinking about it. I let my mind become blank and staggered toward the source of the sound almost unconsciously, like a moth to a flame. The area around me started to get more and more noisy. I stopped being able to hear the sound. I grimaced and tried to find the source of all the noise. And then I froze. At some point, I'd arrived in the middle of Scramble Crossing. The noise was from the huge crowds gathering in the square. It was so cramped that I could barely move. Everyone was pushed up against each other, like on the train during rush hour. There were even more people here than there had been when I'd been up at the top of O-Front. I remembered Grimm saying something about this. Something about a big event in Scramble Crossing tonight. Sarah, what's going on here? I only have bad memories of this place. Why had she brought me here?
リベンジってこと。
Alright, save the game. Where's the person who's going to kill me?
目の前にいるっしょ。
目の前。
The crowd was gigantic. It was a cold autumn night. Why would all these people be packed so tightly here in the square? And then, the crowd in front of me parted, like Moses parting the sea in the Bible. A single road beckoning me forward. They'd been waiting for someone. Me. It's the first annual Let's Lynch the Fake Sidekick Takumi Nishijo while we all scream Whose Eyes Are Those party in Shibuya. Bro, what in the fuck? Offline meeting. Yeah. That incredibly long title came into my head, and I laughed. I didn't want any pain, but if I could die here, I was willing to put up with it.
僕が死ぬにはぴったりの祭りじゃないか。
Good lord, this guy has like the most annoying laugh possible. I understood what Seiretan meant by a second chance. I hadn't been able to die last time, so now she'd given me another chance. I began to work my way through the crowd, an idiot smile forming on my mouth. I found myself at a place where rows and rows of reporters were lined up with cameras and microphones. The media seemed on edge, just like the rest of the crowd. There was a lot of noise, but nobody seemed to be having fun. There was none of the joy and excitement that they'd shown when I'd embarrassed myself at O-Front. They were all staring at me. Their eyes were cold and sharp. There was something akin to murder in their gaze. My hopes grew even higher. Kill me. Kill me. Kill me. I looked up to see all 4 of the big TVs in the crossing were showing me walking through the crowd. It was being broadcast all around Japan, too, I was sure. If 40% of the country was watching it, that meant 48 million people would be there to watch me die. I'm not even real, and you want to watch me die. I'm totally worthless, and you want to watch me die. You really want to watch me die. You're a bunch of idiots. But that's fine with me. Watch all you want, as long as you kill me. I stood in front of the line of cameras and microphones. All the flashes on the camera went off at once. Dazzling lights flashed and disappeared. I squinted in the brightness. An older male reporter I recognized from television was the first to speak.
西尾君、今回はどんなパフォーマンスを見せてくれるんだい？ところで、実は今日の昼に逮捕された貼り付け事件の容疑者は実行犯に過ぎなくて黒幕がいるっていう話があるんだけど、どう思うかな？
First time I heard of that. Why was this guy being friendly? And what did he mean, what are my thoughts on this? What was that supposed to mean? Was he asking me my opinion? To be fair, whenever they asked a famous criminologist on TV for his opinion, they would always say the same boring things. It wouldn't be too hard to do a better job than that. But I didn't care. I'd stopped caring about New Gen entirely. I'd come here to have somebody kill me, not to answer questions from reporters. I didn't even have the strength left to do it if I wanted to.
それでね、西尾君、ズバリ聞くけど、真犯人と目される人物は通称その目誰の目と言われていて、それは君なんじゃないかっていう噂があるんだよね。
Nice. So now everybody's back to suspecting Takumi again. Shit goes full circle, I guess.
そうかもね。
My whisper was picked up by the microphones and sent all throughout Shibuya by the big TVs. A murmur arose from the crowd. They were starting to become even more murderous. Just kill me. I want to be free. Don't make me put up with this bullshit. But the microphones got even closer. They were pushing right up against my mouth. Like a bursting dam, the other reporters began to shower me with questions.
それは事件への関与を認める発言と考えていいんですか？
現実とゲームとの区別ができなくなるような経験はありますか？
逮捕された狛江容疑者との関係について聞かせてください。
人を殺したのはやはりゲーム感覚だったりします？
Maybe I am like a video game character in a sense. Somebody reset me. Let me get a game over.
早く殺して。
And when I said that, the tension in the crowd around me reached its peak and burst.
死ね！
人でなし七
殺してやるよ！
地獄に落ちろ！
死刑にしろ！ぶち殺せ！殺人鬼！
A wave of people crashed towards me. I was caught up in its swell, screams and shouts all around me. I was smashed between the press of people. I found myself picked up off the ground, pressed by bodies from all directions. As my feet left the ground, I struggled, but helplessly. They struck me in the head, hit me in the arm. But it wasn't enough pain to kill me. Even when I thought they would strangle me, I still didn't resist. I let the chaos have its way with me, and suddenly the pressure disappeared. I fell to the ground. Seiraton slipped from my hand. She rolled along the asphalt. People's legs were all around me, like trees in a forest. My wife was rolling between them. I reached my hand out desperately, but couldn't grab her. Her dazzling smile, the smile that had kept me going, was crushed by someone's leather shoes. Then someone kicked her tiny body and sent her flying. A woman's red heel came down on her torso, crushing it.
Sarah.
I called out, but there was no answer. My one ally was gone. The sorrow threatened to crush me. Now I had no reason to stay alive at all. I looked up and saw the walls of people had even blocked out the night sky. Nobody noticed I was crouching here. I was right here, and nobody saw. I was begging them to kill me, and nobody heard. Why was everyone ignoring me? Suddenly, I felt it on my neck. The prickling. The gaze of God.
君は
It was in my head.
ここで死んじゃダメだ。
The voice echoed. I gasped.
イソードを手に入れて。
I clenched my jaw hard.
将軍
I looked for his wheelchair amid the forest of legs. I looked for some asshole in a Darth Spider cosplay. So this whole thing was your doing, wasn't it? I should have known. Are you going to show up in that stupid cosplay again and threaten me? Are you trying to make me do the same thing you tried to make me do before? All I want is death. I don't want to be a living freak show anymore.
あの時の自称将軍は僕じゃない。僕はコスプレはしないよ。
I don't care. Just kill me already.
あいつらが動き出しているんだ。この場は今以上の混乱になるよ。
They?
すべての黒幕。この混乱を引き起こした者たち。混乱を利用して利己を追求しようとする者たち。彼らを止められるのは君だけなんだ。
I sat up. The yelling and screaming was still going on above me. Nobody was looking at me at all. The crowd and the media were all jumbled up now. They were grabbing each other, swearing at each other, hitting each other. What had gotten into them?
沈黙の兵器。ノア2はすでに稼働してる。 この混乱が起とされた一番の目的は無差別人体実験。
Something hard hit my head. It hurt badly. It hurt badly enough that I thought my skull had been busted open. I put my hands to my head and pressed hard to dull the pain. I looked around with tear-stained eyes to see a fist-sized rock nearby. There was a little bit of blood on it. Someone must have thrown it and hit me. It was an awful, aching pain. When I put my hand on the wound, I felt something wet and slick. My fingertips were stained with blood. My blood. I heard a loud pop sound in the distance, then a woman's scream. A gunshot? Was there someone here with a gun? Why was everyone so excited? Why was everybody so eager to fight somebody they'd never met? Why was everybody acting so bizarrely? Weren't they all waiting for me to be the bad guy? The sacrifice?
渋谷の GE レート、バイオリズムがありえないくらいに上昇してるんだよ。言ったでしょ。無差別人体実験だって。この場にいる人たちは今、見えない攻撃を受けているんだ。
I heard that sound, the creaking sound, the rusty sound, like the last gasps of a dying woman, the sound of a wheelchair's wheels. So many people were crammed into the square, walls of people, waves of people roiling and undulating. But as Shogun wheeled forward, no one collided with him. No one tried to stop him. He came right toward me. His body was so small, so frail and thin. He was covered in wrinkles. It looked like his bones might break at the slightest touch. His eyes were cloudy. I couldn't tell what he was looking at, what he was seeing. I couldn't take my eyes off him. The noise of the crowd around me suddenly became distant. Hey, Ox, what's up? Yeah, this Shogun.
ずっと君を見ていたよ。
It was the same voice I'd heard when we first met. It wasn't the strange voice I'd heard at O-Front.
君は誰なの？僕は君だよ。
And with those two words, I understood.
僕を妄想して生み出したのも、神の自然の正体も、君だったんだね。うん。
This man was my creator, the person whose delusion had created me, and someone I would never, ever be able to defeat.
君の名前は西条匠。
The real me, the original.
君はいくつなの？君と同い年だよ。君の設定とね。
So that would mean this guy is, what, 16, 17 years old? 17 years old, and he was so small and wrinkled.
このままだと世界が死んじゃう。ノア2にあらゆる人の心は支配されちゃう。だから君に託したんだ。
Entrusted what to me?
意味がわかんないよ。そんなの僕には関係ない。頼むよ。僕を消して。今すぐに消してほしい。
The wrinkles on Shogun's face moved. It looked like he was trying to change his expression, but I couldn't tell what it was supposed to be.
全部僕のせいなんだ。僕が IR2 を妄想しちゃったせいで。なんとか止めようとしたけど、僕はこんな体だから満足に動くこともできない。それで君を生み出した。君に止めてもらうために。そんなの知らない。僕は君のコピーだけど、僕はやりたくない。コピーだけが苦しまなくちゃいけないなんて、そんなの嫌だ。死なせてよ。君はコピーじゃない。もう一人の僕だ。つまりコピーじゃないか。君のしてることはすごく残酷だ。悪かったって思ってるよ。でも他に方法はなかった。今世界の命運は君にかかっていると言っても過言じゃないんだ。だからそんなのリミに頼めばいいじゃないか。知り合いなんでしょ。
Know her. I said those words deliberately. She might have been his girlfriend or his friend. I didn't want to think about either possibility. Why is Nanami captured? I actually don't know. I guess they were performing Nozomi was performing an experiment on her. Yeah, I don't know. They haven't really explained what all the human experiments shit was for. I guess probably at the end of the day, they probably just want to be able to control everybody's minds, I guess. And then I realized how I felt, even though it was far too late. I was jealous of my original, even though I was just his copy. I was so ugly, so disgusting. What right did I have to be jealous? My feelings made me want to throw up. I felt even more depressed. No, this is... yeah, no, Shogun did not capture Nanami. I think the Nozomi group captured her, and because Nozomi is the group that's been doing all the like human experiments and shit. I just wanted to die.
リミは ナナミを助けに行って逆に捕まっちゃったんだ。え？リミはね、僕を救おうとしてくれていた。その理由は君も知っているよね。
あれは空。
Okay. I'll be back in a minute. Alright, I'm back. Let us continue. Is that the sky?
あの空は
Oh, sorry, that's Rimi.
どうしてあんなに泣きたくなるくらい青いのかな。
それを望んだから。
私は望んでない。
僕が望んだんだ。ここは君の心象世界であると同時に僕の心象世界でもあるから。
Rimi turned to look at me. She seemed confused.
あなた誰？ここには私以外はいないはずなのに、あなたは別の私。
違うよ。
だったら誰？どうやってここに来たの？私の心の中だよ。ずっと暗闇しかなかった。光は私に当たるスポットライトだけ。それなのにあなたが来た途端に暗闇がなくなって空ができた。
妄想がシンクロしたんだ。君の力がとても強かったから。
そう。
Rimi looked back up at the sky. An azure sky so clear, it looked like you could see forever.
私本物の空見たことないんだ。私っていう人格が生まれた時にはね、もう暗い部屋に閉じ込められてた。心の中も外も闇しかなかった。
Yeah. Yeah, they were saying she got tortured too.
そこからは絶対に出してもらえないの。私今死のうとしてたんだ。心を自殺させるの。きっとこれまでの私もそうしてきたと思うし。でもせっかくあなたが空を持ってきてくれたから、この光景を記憶に刻んでおいていいかな。次の私がまたこうして想像できるように。
死にたいの？
うん。
本当の空を見てみたいとは思わないの？
ねえ、空って本当にあるのかな？
あるよ。でも現実の空はこの空よりも汚れてる。
どこにある？あの空はどこにあるの？
Shogun Taku is way less gross. Yeah.
君が望めばどこにでも。
望んでいいの？
もちろんだよ。
どうやって望むの？
光は電磁場の波。その振動現象を人の視覚は色として捉えるんだ。自分のデッドスポットに望む色を当てはめてごらん。そうすれば君の望む世界の色を作り出せる。世界は君の望みに応えてくれるよ。
Days, or perhaps months, passed after that meeting. Rimi came to my hospital room. She and I were both staying in the same hospital, and we both had the same gigalomaniac power, though whether we should be proud of it or hate it, I didn't know.
お兄、お客さんだよ。ねえねえ、誰？彼女さん、いつの間に？やるね、お兄ってば。また会えたね。
She looked so tired. Her skin was sickly pale. Her hair was a mess and far too long. Her nails were cracked. Whose voice? That's Nanami. And she kept squinting, like she wasn't used to bright light.
本物の空は見られた？
うん。あ、そうだ。
Nanami had been watching us carefully. Suddenly, she clapped her hands together like she remembered something.
ナナ、お洗濯してこなくちゃ。リミさんでしたっけ？
About
どうぞごゆっくり。
About Nugent? Nothing really. Really, since they arrested that one guy, there hadn't really been anything that's happened. The only thing was like, the media in a scene just a little earlier asked the delusion Takumi, if he knew about, the rumors that there was somebody that was actually ordering the guy they arrested to do the killings, so they think there might be somebody else behind it. No, they didn't arrest Shogun, it's just some random person. Nanami left. Rimi and I watched her go, neither with much emotion. Rimi turned back to me.
匠はいつから入院してるの
？5年ぐらい。
退院の予定は？
ないよ。僕の余命はあと2年ぐらいだと思うし。
私はあなたのおかげで頑張ることができた。終わりなんて絶対にないと思ってた。でもあなたが教えてくれた空を見るまで頑張ろうと思った。そしたら急に外に出してもらえた。用済みになったって言った方が正しいかもしれないけど。
そう。
How long has he been what?
私はあなたに救われたの。だから今度は私があなたの力になりたい。
そんなの気にしなくていい。
How long has he been in the hospital? He just said, what, 5 years? Yeah, 5 years.
わざわざ僕に会いに来なくてもいいよ。君にはこれから普通に生きてほしい。
普通の生き方なんてわからないから。
Rimi's past, Rimi's feelings, Rimi's resolve. I remembered them all, and it made my chest tighten up in pain.
なんでリミは僕に近づいてきたの？彼女は君の近くにいることで、君の行動、君に接触してくる人間のことを監視して、君を覚醒させないようにしていたんだ。彼女を恨まないであげて。彼女はただおせっかいなだけなんだ。
There was a sad echo in Shogun's voice.
巻き込みたくなかったのに、彼女は僕がどれだけ止めても聞いてくれなかった。勝手に僕に恩義なんか感じて、本当におせっかいだよ。リミとナナミは誰に捕まってるの？プロジェクトノアの責任者、すべての黒幕、野呂瀬源一。かつてリミを捕らえて拷問していた男でもある。それなのにリミはナナミと僕と、そして君を助けるためにあの男のところへたった一人で乗り込んでいっちゃった。
The voice came back into my head. It was Rimi speaking, but she was saying things I'd never heard her say. They were words Shogun had heard.
リミ？
うん。私、実はちょっとした報告があります。ナナちゃんをこれから助けに行こうと思って。
やめるんだ。君はあの男、ノロ瀬とはもう会いたくないでしょ？
私って信用されてないな。平気だってば。昔の話だしね。そもそも私の感情とナナちゃんを助けることとどっちを優先させるかなんて決まりきってることだよ。
ナナミを助けるのも、プロジェクトノアを止めるのも、僕のやるべきことだ。君はそこまでしなくていいんだよ。
言ったでしょ。私はあなたの力になりたいって。それにタクには関わらせたくないの。
おせっかいだね。
そうかもね。あなたにしか言われたことはないけど。ねえ、ちょっとだけ語っちゃっていいかな。タクにね、いろいろひどいこと言っちゃったんだ。しかもそんなことしておいてすごく自分勝手なんだけど、私彼と一緒に過ごした時間はとっても楽しかったって思っちゃってるんだ。何もかもが妄想でまみれたまやかしでしかなかったのに。学生生活もあの学校に私やタクが通っていることも、大地と友達だっていうことも、私がタクと一緒にいようとしたことも、 タクの存在そのものも。タクってどうしようもないくらい情けなくて、どうしようもないくらい弱くて、きっと普通の女だったら見向きもしないような男の子なんだよ。なのに私の心には楽しかったっていう気持ちがあるの。なのに私の心にはもっと一緒にいたかったっていう気持ちがあるの。この気持ちって何なのかな。
インプリンティングのようなものかもしれないね。
Imprinting. Okay. I have no idea why this would be considered imprinting, but
本
okay.
能っていうことかな。それって意外とロマンチックかも。
君が楽しかったなら、きっと彼も楽しかったと思うよ。
そうだといいな。私はタクと似たようなものだから。肉体が妄想から作られた存在と、人格が妄想から作られた存在と、どっちも変わらないでしょ。だからタクのこと消したくなかった。消さなくちゃダメだって思ってたんだけどね。でもいつの間にか感情移入しちゃったみたい。タクにはごく普通に暮らしていってもらいたいの。私はタクミもタクも助けたい。ねえ、タクのことはそっとしておいてあげて。
そういうわけにはいかない。ノア2を破壊するために彼は必要だよ。
私が何とかするから。
君はそんなことしなくていい。君こそごく普通に暮らしていくべきだ。
さてと、そろそろ切るね。
リミ、やめて。
本当に大丈夫だって。あなたは何も心配しないで。私が全部決着をつけてくるから。ね、たくみ。
Hmm. I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna have to like after this is over, I'm gonna have to try and like piece together all the different things that happened in this story to make sense of it all. Now, far past the point when it could possibly matter, the warmth of Rimi's words filled my heart. She really was nosy. What could drive her to do all this? What could drive her to do so much for another person?
私はタクの味方だから。
My memories with Rimi came flooding back. We hadn't spent long together at all, and there were feelings hidden behind each word she'd spoke.
私が一緒にいてあげる。
For this past year and a half, I hadn't done much but play ESO and H games. along with some real money trading. I'd spent all day on them, barely ever leaving the base. I almost never went to school. I never tried to talk to anybody. I was alive, but I'd lived my life like I was dead. But this past month or so had been totally different. Even if in the end, she'd been lying to me.
朝一緒に学校行って
She'd been there for me.
学校では休み時間にどうでもいいこと話して
When I'd been afraid, she'd made me feel better.
お昼休みは一緒にご飯食べて
She'd always been there to support a loser like me. She'd been there to make me feel better.
夕方一緒に帰って
She'd given me a hug and held me in her arms.
帰るついでにたまにどこかのお店に寄ったりして
I was a delusion, but she taught me about human warmth.
タクの部屋でちょっとだけおしゃべりして
She could have erased me, but instead tried to protect me.
それでまた明日ねって手を振って別れて
She'd given me memories.
そんなのでいいなら私いくらでもしてあげるよ
I'd only been alive a year and a half, but I could remember every instant I'd spent with Rimi.
そういうの結構憧れなんだ
The small little gestures she'd made, the scent of her hair, the sound of her breathing, the sparkle in her eyes, the cheer in her voice, her gentle warmth. Oh, now I understand. I'm in love with Rimi. Disgusting. I chuckled at just how disgusting I was. A guy who didn't even exist, falling in love with somebody? Could a delusion even fall in love? Or was I maybe just imagining things? I couldn't tell. I wanted to be honest about these feelings. Rimi saw me as a friend, not as a potential boyfriend, and a creepy loser like me wasn't anywhere near worthy of her. But even if it was just one way, even if it was just for my own self-satisfaction, even if I was just a delusion, I wanted to do something to help someone, to help Rimi, before I disappeared. When a creepy otaku falls in love, it's creepy. When a delusion falls in love, it's creepy. Yeah, I have to admit I didn't think there was gonna be romance in this story. But so what? Even if it's creepy, even if it's never going to happen, I didn't want these feelings to be a delusion or my imagination. Our memories of the past month were a shared awareness between me and Rimi. Even if everything else was a lie, these memories and the feelings they created were real.
世界を救ってほしい。
Shogun spoke. I shook my head.
僕は勇者じゃない。人間でもない。そんな僕に世界を救えとか何を考えてるの？
君には本当に悪いと思ってるけど、君にやってもらうしかないんだ。
自分に謝るなんてバカみたいだ。
I glared at the real me. The real me stared back at the fake me.
僕は君が嫌いだ。
僕は君が羨ましいよ。
僕は世界のためになんか頑張らない。世界を救うとか、そんなことどうでもいい。
I'd decide for myself the reason I was born.
ただ、僕はリミを助け。
ありがとう。
The sounds around me returned. The confusion around me had only increased. That's me watching this stream right now. What? At this point, it was a riot. I was surrounded by the smell of blood, by screaming, by pained moans, and the noise of some kind of machine, like a microphone feeding back onto itself. It was everywhere. The end of the semester.
理想度を手に入れる方法を教えて。
Wait, wasn't the end of the semester like back in December?
君はすでにそれを知っているはずだよ。
So he has to go back to the top of the building and like reach out again? I looked up. I tried to find the D sword blended in with the scenery. Flying rocks, tear gas smoke, people colliding all around me. I shut out all of it and searched for the sword I'd seen for just an instant on the roof of O Front. I should be able to see it. It should be there. Part of the scenery. Blended in. Find it. The D sword is always by your side.
見つけた。
The building just to the right of the 107, there was a colorful vertical sign plastered to its side. It looked to me like the shape of a sword. Is your cam in? I gulped nervously. I'd been able to see its shape on top of the O Front building too, but I hadn't been able to grab it.
自分の意志を強く持つんだ。迷っちゃダメだからね。君にはもう剣を手に入れる資格は十分にある。
I reached out from where I stood. If I was going to save the person I loved, I needed this sword. I needed it. I bit down on my lower teeth. This wasn't like last time. I was surprised at how calm my heart was. There was no fear. I couldn't let myself be afraid. But I wasn't calm either. There was an emotion burning and boiling up inside me. There was something I had to do, no matter what.
掴むんだ。
I was about 100 meters from the 107. I moved my hand so that it seemed to overlap with the blade, and clenched. My hand was reaching out into empty, open space, but I felt something. It wasn't cold or hot or hard or soft. I slowly pulled it toward me, holding it tight in my hand. Ripples appeared in the air, and out of the ripples it came. Far too long to be called a sword. So delicate, it felt like it could snap at any moment. Filled with an unearthly elegance, but not a trace of ornamentation. Pure malice that threatened to drain away your soul. Beautiful curves that inspired awe and fear. The flames decorating its hilt flickered in time with the beating of my racing heart. It didn't feel heavy at all. In fact, it felt like it had become one with my hand, like it had always been there, a part of my body. It didn't feel like I was really holding a sword at all. So this was a D-sword. I held it tight with both hands. Right now, I could real boot it too. If I could make the people around me aware of it too, the sword would become real. I didn't know how, so I just focused. Become real, I shouted in my mind. There was no more hesitation. The D-sword began to glow as if in answer to my call. The decorative flames on the hilt became real, engulfing the blade in fire. I didn't feel any heat. The flames were soon absorbed by the whole blade. That's like Sephiroth's sword right there. And with a violent shockwave, the D-sword glowed red. Can't see his face. Hold on. Arrow, put it here. Okay. There. Some of the people around me saw the weapon and were watching in shock. But only a few. The others were still fighting and cursing one another. The riot showed no signs of stopping.
この暴動を引き起こしているポーターたちを探すんだ。彼らの持つ機械を破壊すれば、バイオリズムの高騰も収まる。
Oh wait, I thought he said he was only gonna save Rimi.
ポーター。
ノア2の端末としての存在。君はすでにそのヒントを見てきたはずだよ。君の頭の中に、それは記憶として刻まれている。
I awakened it, the thing I'd seen.
約束は今
ようやく尻尾を出したんだ。そいつを掴んで離さねえようにしないとな。
辛いんですね。
有限会社し聞いたことあるか。
返して。7のバングル返して。
地点 L2 の8 0.62 メガ GE ハイスコアです。
どんな手品だこれは。
のぞみ。
我が社ではポーターと呼んでいます。言い換えればマインドコントロールのための部隊といったところでしょうか。
The things I'd seen unconsciously, the things I'd unconsciously read with my mind.
僕は盗撮野郎ってことか。お似合いだね。
Alright, back over here again. I let out a small, self-deprecating chuckle as Shogun calmly gave me my next directions.
チャネルを開放してポーターたちの心を読むんだ。コズピーのようにね。彼らはこのスクランブル交差点のどこかに居場所を探り当てて。
Unlock the channels. I didn't even have to think about how I'd do it. I'd already done it before I could even think about it. And when I did, the minds of all these people, their negative emotions, all became visible to me. It all came flooding in at once. Was Nanami with a hand a delusion? Yes, she was. I think not too long before you came in, she basically split into a bunch of like light particles and disappeared. So, yeah, she was a delusion. Malice, hatred, jealousy, lust, subservience, cowardice, frivolity, filth, cunning, indecency, ugliness, vulgarity, greed, madness, murder. The hidden ugliness of all these people was revealed to me in a way more direct, more cruel, more terrible than words. All the negative emotions mankind could possess came at me in a torrent of images, enveloping my mind, shattering and violating it. They looked at me with disgust, hurt me with their words, spat on me. My nails were torn off. I was punched again and again in the face, kicked from behind. My hair was ripped out. My nose was bitten off. My eyeballs were pulled from their sockets. My tongue was yanked from my mouth. My blood was drained. I was burned by hot water. My anus was raped. Well, gee, thanks for that. My genitals were smashed. My skin was torn off. My arms were cut off. All my bones broken. I was struck with blunt weapons. Stabbed with sharp ones. My organs were torn out. I was strangled. Eaten by huge beasts. Pushed off high places. Drowned in the water. Burnt in the flames. If I synchronized with them all, my mind would shatter. I felt like I was going crazy. I bit my teeth and tried as hard as I could to focus. Had Kazubi lived her whole life like this?
見るべき妄想をコントロールするんだ。全てを受信しちゃダメだ。標的を絞り込んで音を頼りにするんだ。
Sound. I listened as hard as I could, struggling to fight off the waves of delusions. All I could hear were voices. I shut them out and searched for the sound. I heard it, a mechanical sound. The sound Seraton had said would kill me. I'd heard it in the memories of others, too. Senna had used her D-sword to destroy the porter's backpack that had been emitting this sound. If I focused on it, I could hear a very specific delusion. There were multiple voices. There was more than just one porter here, it seemed.
3人いるみたいだ。
I held my breath and took a step forward. The crowd was chaotic. Everyone in Scramble Crossing was moving around, fighting, without the slightest regard for any other human being. It was hard to walk straight. I hacked into the delusions of the people in the direction I was going. The people in front of me began to part. They made a path before me. 50 meters away, I saw a single man. There was nothing standing between us now. Our eyes met. He was pudgy, wearing a suit, and carrying a backpack.
1人目。
I ran. I ran through the crowd, without running into anyone. Straight ahead, via the fastest possible route, trailing the D-sword behind me. When the porter saw me, he turned tail and tried to run, but I wouldn't let him. Just like Senna had done, I swung the huge D-sword, even taller than I was, in a horizontal arc. It still seemed to weigh nothing. I could control it like it was a part of my body. Its tip sliced into the backpack. The backpack and its contents were vaporized, as if they'd been melted by something impossibly hot. The man dropped to his knees, holding his hands over his head to protect himself. I ignored him and headed for the second one. Directly beneath O-Front. Once again, the obstacles between us disappeared. A path formed. A man was standing there. He was rail thin and wearing jeans and a checkered shirt. His hair was long and his skin was sickly pale. He was holding his bag carefully, like it contained some dear treasure. He noticed me and immediately tried to hide within the crowd, but before he could, I threw the D-sword. Fly. I envisioned the scene in my delusion. It ignored all laws of physics, flying parallel to the ground and accelerating as it went. It subtly altered its course as it flew and rammed right through the porter's backpack. There was a small burst of light, and the man toppled to the ground. One left. I ran over to the fallen man and recovered my D-sword. The third was in front of the Hachiko statue. I knew this one. I'd encountered them a few times before. Actually, in fact, I'd talked to her almost every day. The crowd parted, and once again a path was formed. At the end of it, I saw a woman who looked very out of place. She was in a white nurse's outfit.
あなたが3人目です。
Damn, so the fucking nurse is with Nozomi?
葉月さん。いや、グリム。
Wait, what? Seriously, bro? The nurse who'd smiled so kindly at me at the hospital. Now she was glaring at me, daggers in her eyes. There was a large handbag in her hands. It was probably a Noah 2 terminal.
真実を暴くんだ。彼女がしてきたことをこの場にいる人たちに提示すれば、この熱病のような混乱は収まる。
What she's done?
彼女がグリムなら、これまでの不自然な言動に君は気づいているはず。僕が最初に君に接触した時のことを思い出して。僕は君に貼り付け事件の予言をした。君への継承だった。でも僕よりも先に貼り付けを予言した人間がいる。
I remembered the chat log from that night. Just before Shogun had spoken to me, Grim had left the room, along with a joke image he'd drawn. It was the one that Hazuki had been drawing on the medical charts. It was a very poorly drawn picture, but what it showed was the crucified murder. And then there was what Grimm had said about the New Gen murders, too. It's all happening right near your house, LOL. I'd never told him I lived in Shibuya. And even just a few hours ago, Grimm had said something that showed he knew I was Takumi Nishijo. You're famous. They'll all be excited to see you. And then the second time I'd gone to the hospital, Hazuki had said this.
高階先生はもういません。
A week later, Dr. Takashina was found dead. I gulped.
あの人が真犯人。
I could find out if I looked into her mind.
信仰の救いあれ。
I Shino Hazuki was standing in the operating room of AH Tokyo General Hospital, where she worked. It was late at night. On the bed was a young man, Chizuo Konoe. He'd been put into a state of semi-unconsciousness by a sleeping drug.
信仰の救いあれ
She kept repeating the same phrase over and over, like a mantra, as she rubbed her heavily pregnant belly. She slipped off her white uniform, sat down on the table, and picked up a knife. Bro, what the fuck is going on, dude? And then, with no anesthetic, she cut open her stomach. Dude, what the fuck? There was a deftness in her touch that would have made any gynecologist or surgeon envious. Despite having no training as a surgeon, and despite the pain that would come from slicing open her own stomach, she cut in clean, even lines. Blood and amniotic fluid poured from the open wound. Her face twisted in pain, and when she was done cutting, she reached a hand into her own stomach and pulled out a blood-covered fetus. The fetus wasn't fully developed, and the shock of being ripped from the wound had already ended its life. Hazuki cut the umbilical cord and gave her child a loving hug before placing it on the stand next to the operating table and sewing up her wounds. The whole operation took less than an hour, and the whole time she was exposed to an incredible pain in her abdomen. The kind of pain that would have long since knocked a normal person out. She stood up from the operating table and brought the baby over to the man on the bed. She looked down on the unconscious man with bloodshot eyes before stabbing the knife hard into his belly. There was none of the grace and exactness she'd shown when cutting her own stomach. The man woke up from the pain, but his limbs had been tied down tightly to the bed, and there was no way for him to escape. She yanked the knife across his stomach, oblivious to his screams. It tore through flesh and skin. Blood spurted out, splashing on her face.
信仰の救いをあなたに
She put her hands into the open wound, and then she yanked it open as hard as she could. The sound of ripping meat filled the operating room. The man's body began to twitch, and the pain made him slip in and out of consciousness. When she saw the wound was big enough, Hazuki smiled gently, and then she took her own baby and jammed it into the wound.
これがあなたの記憶なんですね。
Shino Hazuki was watching the video in shock. There were 4 big TVs in Scramble Crossing, and all of them were showing her memories. She couldn't understand how it happened. It had to be Takumi Nishijo's gigalomaniac powers.
あなたの記憶です。
Takumi Nishijo spoke with his head down and D-sword in hand. The riot had calmed itself instantly. Now there was only silence. The thousands of people who'd been fighting were now all staring up at the screen. Some turned pale and looked away. Some threw up on the spot. The media were trying to turn their cameras on Hazuki. She was blinded by one camera flash after another.
あなたがニュージェネ事件の真犯人だったんだ。
私の記憶を映像に投影したんですね。
もう言い逃れはできませんよ。胎児とあなたの DNA を鑑定すればわかることです。どうしてあんなことを。ねえ、クリム。
Bro, the nurse being the killer has got to be the most random fucking thing in this whole visual novel, dude. Like, the nurse? Really, bro? Okay.
ナイトハルト。すべては教祖様のお言葉なんですよ。
Hazuki put her hand into the handbag on her shoulder. It contained the Noah 2 terminal port and a surgical knife. She grabbed the knife and put it up against her neck. As a nurse, she knew exactly where the carotid artery was. Hazuki smiled at Takumi Nishijo, and her kind smile, the one she always showed her patients,
信仰の救いあれ。
was quickly stained red by the blood spurting from her neck.
エスパーだ。
Hazuki's memories were cut and censored. Yeah, well, I could imagine. I mean, shit. Like, I guess if they weren't zoomed in on her face during that scene, then you would have seen, like, her fucking stomach split open. So, yeah. Okay, I think we're gonna stop here for tonight. Oh, there was a scene with Dr. Takashina. Oh. Hmm. Okay, well, yeah, tell us what happened in that scene then, since we can't see it on here. Covers stuff up with my cam. Mm. She took his brain out. Okay, so she killed Takashina too then, apparently. Okay. So, let's see. She did we know that she committed the baby in the man's stomach killing. We know she committed the murder of Dr. Takashina. And we know that she, I guess, was somehow behind the crucified killing too, although I guess she might have just manipulated that other dude into committing that murder for her, maybe. Um, but that still leaves a few of the killings kind of open though, like the first one, like the people jumping off the building. Like, did she do that one too? I don't know. Fandom wiki, bro. Yeah, fandom wiki is literally like a fucking malware site. Like, I swear, you leave that site up for a while, it'll like actually freeze your fucking computer. Like, yeah. Worst scenes in this game don't have any art. Hmm. Oh, just text. Okay. Hmm. That does suck though that they even took out the text. Like, they could have at least showed the blank screens with the text. Like, I don't know. Yeah, it's a bitch made. Yeah, yeah, it kind of is actually. Yeah. Alrighty, I think we will continue this today's Thursday, so Saturday in 2 days. Tomorrow I will be back to God of War Ragnarok again. I'm hoping I can finish the DLC tomorrow. I'm hoping that this is like the last loop that I have to play through before the DLC is beaten. But I'm not totally sure if that's the case or not, but we'll see. Get some cutscenes. Zane? Damn, dude. Why you gotta show up like almost right when I'm about to end the stream? Well, I guess I can maybe show one clip, one VTuber clip before I stop for tonight. All right, yeah, let's get out of here. Bye bye, Chaos Head. All right. Fuamoko. Yeah. Gura streamed yesterday. I watched a little bit of that. Did you see? Gura had almost 50,000 viewers watching her freaking stream, dude. I guess it's like Gura streams so rarely now that when she does, it's like such a huge event that like fucking everybody comes and watches it. Uh,
Flight team stand up.
Oop, want that. Yeah. Yeah, I think I saw it at like it was about like 47,000. You missed out much. Oh, well, yeah. Okay, so did they name the NBA All-Star starters? I didn't realize that. Okay, I'm gonna have to watch Flight's reaction video to the All-Star starters reveal. Oh, is Shiori streaming right now too? Yeah, she is. Oh, poor Shiori. She doesn't even have 3,000 people watching. No, but bro, like, also, another thing I noticed is like ever since Fauna came back from her hiatus, her viewership has gone up a lot too. Like all the streams I've seen that she's done since she's returned, she's had like 12 to 15,000 viewers, which is like well above average for like Hololive English, outside of Gura, of course. Gura's like an anomaly, but I imagine though she's probably just getting more viewers right now because she just came back, so she'll probably regress to the mean here in a little while. How do you read chat on stream with yeah, you can't really. It gets wild when there's that many people.
Oh man,
All right, here's our clip here. We're gonna watch this one clip, and then that'll be the end of the stream after that. So here we go. Hollow Ian be climbing up. Well, at least Gura and Fauna are anyway. Not sure about anybody else, but all right. So guess what clip we? Oh, I forgot. Need to flip this around here. Guess who we're watching a clip of here? Shiori bought cute Lolita clothes IRL, but here we go.
I got like a new dress. I hate it when you have you find clothes and it's really cute, but the store has no dressing rooms for some freaking reason. But anyway, I bought it anyway because I figured I could probably return it. But the issue is that they're like foreign clothes. It's kind of like imported goods, I guess. It doesn't have a lot of size variation. Small in Asia is like American size. Yeah, it's XS. Yeah. It goes tinier. So, I got one with zippers. Zippers are a girl's worst enemy, at least for me. Even if everything fits, once you get to a certain asset, it stops fitting right there and then. So, it sucks. The thing I wanted, I didn't have a lot of options, but I wanted to try it anyway because it's super cute and I wanted Lolita clothes, okay? So I tried it. And then for some reason, a zipper in the back normal. That's fine. But then this one has zippers at the side. I'm like, what the frick is this? Why would you have a zipper at the side? Like, what's the point of this? I should only buy clothes that can stretch. Because at least that way, the assets will be freaking fine. It just makes no sense. Unless, like, you have no assets, I guess. Give it to Makoko. Maybe. I mean, I gotta return it. I think I should just stick to Hot Topic, though. But you know what's stupid? This store in particular, it had 3 rooms. And then it said, sorry, no dressing room. Sorry. It said it 3 times. I'm like, why? Why can I not use your dressing room? It's a super, super cute dress. And I really wish I could. Maybe if I wear, like, those,
well, I mean,
bandages.
I guess,
like, you know, in those anime.
I guess you could just use a bathroom, right? Like, surely they have bathrooms there, right? I mean, that'd be pretty weird if they didn't.
Like the girls wear the bandages or something around their thingy. Maybe it'll kind of like lower my unity.
What, like
assets.
Yoimiya? Alright. Alrighty. Assets. Come on, bro. You know what she's talking about. Alright, guys. Looks like I have 3 viewers, which means FC is still here, which means we need to strive to get we need to push FC down the VTuber rabbit hole. So her chest, yes, her boobies. Although sometimes assets can mean your ass too, but I think in this case she's talking about her boobs, so so all right, man. Well, that's going to be it for tonight. I need to get ready for bed. So, what even is Hollow Star? Do those people... What? I swear, Ox, your chatting is like really stream of consciousness. It's like so weird. Don't know or watch them. Well, yeah, Hollow Stars is the basically the male side of Hololive. It's a bunch of male VTubers. People do watch them. Yeah, but I mean, it's not surprising that they'll have nearly the audience that the girls do. Um, you know. Although actually I've been kind of is it like K-pop stan? Kind of, I guess. I mean, especially when it comes to like guys like Vox, you know? Although Vox is Niji Sanji, not Hololive, but still. um yeah, I've kind of been wanting to show y'all how the viewership of Hololive English compares to the viewership of the Japan branch of Hololive, because it's actually pretty there. It's actually um like a lot different now. It's changed a lot since like the pandemic. So, oh, you'll explain another time? Okay. Well, keep it in mind because I'm actually not aware of what you're talking about right now. So, um, anyway, um, okay. Well, I better get going. Need to get to bed. So, uh, yeah, please join me. Well, I would say earlier, but tomorrow's probably going to be a bit of a later stream. In fact, yeah, tomorrow I will probably stream quite late tomorrow. I'll try and start like before 10 my time, but uh, I don't know. We'll see. I'm probably gonna go. Well, unless I wind up beating the game, in which case I guess the stream won't be very long. But anyway. Alrighty. Well, I will see y'all tomorrow, and we'll do God of War, and possibly even beat the Valhalla DLC. We'll see. All right. Have a good night, y'all.